QAnon is an American political conspiracy theory and political movement. It originated in the American far-right political sphere in 2017. QAnon centers on false claims made by an anonymous individual or individuals known as Q. Those claims have been relayed, developed, and supplemented by numerous communities and influencers associated with the movement. The core QAnon theory is that a cabal of satanic, cannibalistic sexual abusers of children operating a global child sex trafficking ring conspired against former U.S. President Donald Trump during his term in office. QAnon has direct roots in Pete Saget, an internet conspiracy theory that appeared 1 year earlier. It also incorporates elements of many other theories. Some experts have described QAnon as a cult. Followers of the conspiracy theory say that the Trump administration secretly fought the cabal of pedophiles, and would conduct mass arrests and executions of thousands of cabal members on a day known as the storm or the event. QAnon supporters have named Democratic politicians, Hollywood actors, high-ranking government officials, business tycoons, and medical experts as members of the cabal. QAnon has also claimed that Trump stimulated the conspiracy of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election to enlist Robert Mueller to join him in exposing the sex trafficking ring, and to prevent a coup d'état by Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and George Soros. QAnon is described as anti-Semitic or rooted in anti-Semitic tropes, due to its fixation on Jewish financier George Soros and conspiracy theories about the Rothschild family, a frequent target of anti-Semites. Many also consider it anti-Semitic due to its strong resemblance to the anti-Semitic blood libel, the myth that Jews harvest the blood of children for ritual purposes. Although it has its origins in older conspiracy theories, the first post by Q was in October 2017 on the anonymous image board website for QAnon. Q claimed to be a high-level government official with Q clearance, who had access to classified information involving the Trump administration and its opponents in the United States. Q soon moved to QAnon, making it Canon's online home. Q's often cryptic posts became known as drops, which were later collected by aggregator apps and websites. The conspiracy theory expanded into a viral phenomenon and quickly went beyond internet culture, becoming familiar among the general population and turning into a real political movement. QAnon followers began to appear at Trump re-election campaign rallies in August 2018, and Trump amplified QAnon accounts on Twitter through his retweets. Canon's conspiracy theories have also been relayed by Russian and Chinese state-backed media companies, social media troll accounts, and the far-right Falun Gong-associated Epic Media Group. Since its emergence in American politics, QAnon has spawned movements around the world. The exact number of QAnon adherents is unclear, but the group maintains a large online following. After increased scrutiny of the movement and its hashtags, mainstream social media companies such as Twitter and Facebook began taking action to stop the spread of the conspiracy theory. QAnon followers have perpetrated acts of violence on numerous occasions. Members of the movement actively took part in the 2020 U.S. presidential election, during which they supported Trump's campaign and waged information warfare in an attempt to influence voters. After Joe Biden won, they were involved in efforts to overturn the results of the election. Several associates of Trump, such as General Michael Flynn and 2 members of his legal team, Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell, have promoted Cannon-derived conspiracy theories. When these tactics failed, Trump supporters, many of them QAnon followers, attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. The Capitol attack was a watershed moment for QAnon and led to a further, more sustained social media crackdown on the movement and its claims. Background: Pete Saget. According to QAnon researcher Mike Rothschild, while Q has a number of precursor conspiracy theories and scams, no conspiracy theory feeds more immediately into Q than Pete Saget. Pete Saget began in March 2016 with a leak of Clinton campaigner John Podesta's emails, which promoters of the theory believed contained a secret code detailing child sexual abuse. Pete Saget followers said that high-profile Democrats were sexually abusing children at a Washington, D.C. pizzeria, which led to an armed attack on the establishment by a gunman who believed the conspiracy theory. The allegations of child sexual abuse and the centrality of the Clinton family to this abuse became a key part of the QAnon belief system, but in time the Clintons' centrality to this was de-emphasized in favor of more general conspiratorial claims of an alleged worldwide elite of child sex traffickers. Q has referred to Pete Saget claims without using the term. QAnon followers often used the hashtag #SaveTheChildren to promote the Pete Saget conspiracy theory. This has caused protests from the unrelated NGO Save the Children. Influence of 4CHAN culture. The investigative journalism website Bellingcat has called /HTG/ or human trafficking general threads on the /Paul/board of 4CHAN the missing link between Pete Saget and QAnon. Instead of focusing on a limited supply of email material to comb through, the /HTG/ allowed users to actively participate in the imagined storylines. A key /HTG/ poster was Anonymous 5, who claimed to be a child prostitution investigator. But the lack of a coherent narrative was a constraint on the /HTG/ trend, and it never achieved Pete Saget's popularity. The main tenets of the QAnon ideology were already present at 4CHAN before Q's appearance, including claims that Hillary Clinton was directly involved in a pedophile ring, that Robert Mueller was secretly working with Trump, and that large-scale military tribunals were imminent. His posts specifically targeted individuals who were highly hated in the community beforehand, namely Clinton, Barack Obama and George Soros. Bellingcat says that the idea of the storm was copied from another poster named Victory of the Light, who predicted the event, in which mass, televised arrests of the cabal were forthcoming. Previous Anons. In its most basic sense, an Anon is an anonymous or pseudonymous Internet poster. The concept of Anons doing research and claiming to disclose otherwise classified information, while a key component of the QAnon conspiracy theory, is by no means exclusive to it. Q was preceded by so-called Anons who also claimed to have special government access. On July 2, 2016, the anonymous poster FBI Anon, a self-described high-level analyst and strategist who claimed to have intimate knowledge of the inner workings of the Clinton case, began posting false information about the 2016 investigation into the Clinton Foundation and claimed that Hillary Clinton would be imprisoned if Trump became president. Around that time, HLI Anon, standing for High-Level Insider Anon, hosted long question-and-answer sessions, dispensing various conspiracy theories, including that Princess Diana was murdered after trying to stop the September 11 attacks. Soon after the 2016 United States elections, two anonymous posters, CIA Anon and CIA Intern, falsely claimed to be high-ranking Central Intelligence Agency officers, and in late August 2017, Winsitanen offered a supposed preview that something that was going to go down regarding leaks that would affect the Democratic Party. Origin and spread. A 4CHAN user named QClearancePatriot first appeared on the site's /Paul/board on October 28, 2017, posting in a thread titled "Calm Before the Storm," a phrase Trump had previously used to describe a gathering of American military leaders he attended. The storm later became QAnon parlance for an imminent event in which thousands of alleged suspects would be arrested, imprisoned, and executed for being child-eating pedophiles. The poster's username implied that they held Q clearance, a United States Department of Energy security clearance required to access top-secret information on nuclear weapons and materials. Q's first post said that Hillary Clinton was about to be arrested, which would cause massive unrest and be followed by numerous other arrests. A second message was posted a few hours later, saying that Clinton was being detained though not arrested yet, and that Trump was planning to remove criminal rogue elements. The post also alluded cryptically to George Soros, Huma Abedin, and Operation Mockingbird. Many other messages followed. QS activity surged in November, with most posts expanding upon previous theories about Hillary Clinton. Other conspiracy theories were later added, notably involving Barack Obama, Saudi Arabia, or Iran. An internet community soon developed around interpreting and analyzing posts attributed to Q, and several of these conspiracy theorists became minor celebrities within the community. Followers started looking for clues that would confirm their beliefs, including in the most commonplace phrases and occurrences. In November 2017, Trump sipping water from a bottle was interpreted as a secret sign that the mass arrests would soon take place. Though QAnon immediately integrated Pete Saget's theory of secret child sex trafficking rings operated by the elite, it went much further by implying a worldwide cabal and by incorporating elements from various other conspiracies. One of the earlier rumors spread by QAnon followers was that such figures as Hillary Clinton, her daughter Chelsea and Senator John McCain had already been arrested and indicted, and were wearing ankle monitoring bracelets during their public appearances. In the following months, the QAnon community helped spread other rumors such as the frazzle drip theory, which purported the existence of a snuff video showing Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin murdering a child, drinking her blood and taking turns wearing the skin from her face as a mask. In November 2017, two 4chan moderators, Paul Ferber and Coleman Rogers, worked with YouTuber Tracy Diaz to promote QAnon to a wider audience. This involved setting up the r/cbts_stream subreddit, where subscribers came to talk about QAnon. The subreddit was permanently closed in March 2018 due to incitement of violence and posting private information. QAnon spread to other social media, including Twitter and YouTube. Rogers and his wife, Christina Urso, launched Patriot's Soapbox, a YouTube livestream dedicated to QAnon, which they used to solicit donations. U.S. Representative Lauren Boebert was a guest on the channel. Also in November 2017, posts by Q moved to 8chan, with Q citing concerns that the 4chan board had been infiltrated. Thereafter, Q posted only on 8chan. In August 2019, 8chan was shut down after it was connected with the El Paso shooting and other violent incidents. Followers of QAnon then moved to Enchun, until 8chan was restored under the name 8kun. QAnon first received attention from mainstream press in November 2017. Newsweek called it Pete Saget on steroids. Gossip columnist Liz Crokin, a Pete Saget follower, was one of the first public figures to embrace QAnon and became one of the movement's most prominent influencers. Television host Sean Hannity and entertainer Roseanne Barr spread news about it to their social media followers in early 2018, and the conspiracy theory gained traction on the mainstream right. At this time, InfoWars host and far-right conspiracy theorist Alex Jones claimed to be in personal contact with Q. This led to the presence en masse of QAnon followers at a July 2018 Trump rally for the midterm elections in Tampa, Florida, the first visible presence of the QAnon movement at Trump rallies. Some Christian pastors introduced their congregations to QAnon ideas. The Indiana-based Omega Kingdom Ministry tried to combine QAnon and Christianity, with Q posts and Bible quotes both read during church services. Some Christians, such as Pastor Derek Kabilas, call QAnon heresy, but most U.S. pastors have not taken a stand against it. More generally, QAnon's rise coincided with increasing radicalization and violent episodes in American far-right movements. QAnon-related merchandise was widely available on Amazon's online marketplace in 2018. QAnon, An Invitation to the Great Awakening, a book said to be authored by a group of 12 QAnon followers, neared the top of Amazon's bestsellers list in 2019, possibly through algorithmic manipulation. Also in 2019, QAnon blogger Neon Revolt self-published the book Revolution Q, the story of QAnon and the Second American Revolution, which became an influential text among the QAnon community and was also distributed by Amazon. In 2020, Politico noted that 100 titles associated with QAnon were available on Amazon Marketplace, in many different languages and with generally positive reviews. Canon-related merchandise was also available on Etsy and Teespring, and pages relating to the conspiracy theory were on Patreon and GoFundMe. Sites dedicated to aggregating the Q posts, also called drops or Q drops, became essential for their dissemination and spread. QMap was the most popular and famous aggregator, run by a pseudonymous developer and overall key QAnon figure known as QAnon. But QMap shut down shortly after the fact-checking website Logically published a September 2020 report that theorized that QAnon was a New Jersey-based security analyst named Jason Gelinas. Multiple online communities were created around QAnon. In 2020, Facebook conducted an internal investigation which revealed that the social network hosted thousands of QAnon-themed groups and pages, with millions of members and followers. According to Reuters, Russian-backed social media accounts promoted early QAnon claims as early as November or December 2017. In 2018, Time called Q one of the 25 most influential people on the Internet. Russian government-funded Russian state media such as RT and Sputnik have amplified the conspiracy theory since 2019. Citing QAnon as evidence that the U.S. is riven by internal strife and division. In 2021, a report from the Sufin Center, a research group focused on national security, found that 1/5 of 166,820 QAnon posts in the U.S. between January 2020 and February 2021 originated in foreign countries, primarily Russia and China, and that China was the primary foreign actor touting QAnon narratives online. The far-right Falun Gong-associated Epoch Media Group, including the Epoch Times, has also been a major promoter of the conspiracy theory. University of Southern California professor and data scientist Emilio Ferrara found that about 25% of accounts that use QAnon hashtags, retweet InfoWars, or had retweeted One American News Network are bots. International following. Marc-André Argentino, a researcher of the movement, noted in August 2020 that QAnon-dedicated Facebook pages existed in 71 countries worldwide. In January 2021, researcher Joel Finkelstein told The Washington Post that the German and Japanese QAnon movements were particularly strong and growing, though according to a later New York Times report, the Japanese version remains a fringe belief even among conspiracy theorists. 3 Pro-QAnon groups in Japan are known to exist as of 2022, J-Anon, Karmai Japan Flynn, and Yamato Q. In April 2022, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police arrested several members of Yamato Q for breaking into a health clinic which provided COVID-19 vaccinations. Between March and June 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, QAnon activity nearly tripled on Facebook and nearly doubled on Instagram and Twitter. By that time, QAnon had spread to Europe, from the Netherlands to the Balkan Peninsula. In Germany, far-right activists and influencers have created on YouTube, Facebook, and Telegram a German audience for QAnon, estimated in 2020 at 200,000. German Reichsbürger groups adopted QAnon to promote its belief that modern Germany is not a sovereign republic but rather a corporation created by Allied nations after World War II, and expressed their hope that Trump would lead an army to restore the Reich. In Russia, a similar conspiracy theory, The Soviet Citizens, which claims the Russian Federation is a Delaware-based LLC that occupies the legal territory of the Soviet Union, also became susceptible to QAnon beliefs. 1 in 4 Britons are said to believe in canon-related theories, though only 6% support QAnon. In October 2020, anti-racist advocacy group Hope Not Hate said that British influencer Martin Geddes ran one of the most popular QAnon Twitter accounts in the world. In October 2021, Remy Dalia Tweedeman, a French canon-associated conspiracy theorist, was charged with terrorism for having planned a coup against the French government. Various associates of Dalia Tweedeman were also arrested and charged in late 2021 and early 2022. Many Canadians have also promoted QAnon. In July 2020, an armed gunman and QAnon follower drove a vehicle into the grounds of Rideau Hall, the temporary residence of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, in order to arrest him over COVID-19 restrictions and firearm regulations. A February 8 article in The Guardian described the 2022 convoy protests in Canada as the result of coordination between QAnon, conspiracy theorists, and anti-vaccine and anti-government organizations. Romana Digilo, a Philippines-born Canadian woman claiming to be Canada's rightful queen, built up an online following in the course of 2021 and went on to create a cult-like organization using QAnon and sovereign citizen concepts. The movement has also spread to Spain and Latin America, with countries like Costa Rica, Colombia, Argentina, Mexico, Paraguay, and Brazil having an online presence. La Nación reported in 2020 that the Facebook page QAnon Costa Rica was spreading misinformation and fake news, called to depose President Carlos Alvarado and extolled right-wing figures such as far-right presidential candidate Juan Diego Castro Fernandez and controversial deputies Dragos Delanesco Valenciano and Eric Rodriguez Steller. In Spain, the far-right Vox Party was accused of endorsing anti-Biden conspiracy theories linked to QAnon in its Twitter account by claiming that Biden was the candidate preferred by pedophiles. An RTVE News report found that most Spanish QAnon supporters identified Vox as their preferred political party. Pastel QAnon claims. QS posts. Q made thousands of posts on 4chan and 8chan/8kun. These drops were often elusive, cryptic, and impossible to verify. Some included strings of characters that are allegedly coded messages. Q used a conspiratorial tone, with phrases like "I've said too much" or "some things must remain classified to the very end." To sustain faith in a final victory over the cabal, Q used recurring phrases such as "trust the plan," "enjoy the show," and "nothing can stop what is coming." Q's messages typically claimed that everything was going as planned, that Trump was in control and that all his adversaries would end up in prison. Q also encouraged followers to do their own research by telling them to follow the White Rabbit. QAnon followers used the White Rabbit reference both as a hashtag and as the name of a Facebook group that had around 90,000 members in 2020. Many early posts advanced claims about deep state collusion with foreign powers. During 2018, Q mentioned geopolitical conspiracies such as the Obama administration having planned to send technology to Iran and North Korea. Later, Q found new targets such as Planned Parenthood, which he accused of harvesting fetuses for profit, or Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who he said was a member of the cabal. Over the years, other topics of interest included Russian interference, child trafficking, Jeffrey Epstein, Antifa and Hunter Biden. Becoming increasingly vague over time, Q's posts allowed followers to map their own beliefs onto them and develop new variations of the theory. The author Walter Kern has described Q as an innovator among conspiracy theorists by enthralling readers with clues rather than presenting claims directly. The audience for internet narratives doesn't want to read, it wants to write. It doesn't want answers provided, it wants to search for them. But Q often made specific predictions that did not prove correct. On multiple occasions, Q has dismissed these incorrect predictions as deliberate, claiming that disinformation is necessary. This has led Australian psychologist Stefan Lewandowski to emphasize the self-sealing quality of the conspiracy theory, highlighting its anonymous purveyor's use of plausible deniability and noting that evidence against it can become evidence of validity in the minds of believers. The numerous false, unsubstantiated claims Q has posted include that the CIA installed North Korean leader Kim Jong-un as a puppet ruler, that U.S. Representative and former Democratic National Committee Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz hired Salvadoran gang MS-13 to murder DNC staffer Seth Rich. An apparent suggestion that German Chancellor Angela Merkel is Adolf Hitler's granddaughter. That Obama, Hillary Clinton, George Soros, and others are planning a coup against Trump and are involved in an international child sex trafficking ring. That the Mueller investigation was actually a counter-coup led by Trump, who pretended to conspire with Russia in order to hire Mueller to secretly investigate the Democrats and expose the child sex trafficking ring. That the Rothschild family leads a satanic cult, a centuries-old anti-Semitic trope against the family. After Trump lost the 2020 election, the rate of QS posts sharply declined and Q stopped posting altogether 1 month later. The last drop was on December 8, 2020. Mike Rothschild, author of a book on QAnon, said that he doubted Q would ever come back, as the movement had outgrown the need for new drops and Trump's election loss had invalidated the core QAnon prophecy. But he added that Q might resume posting if the community really needed new drops to keep it moving forward. On June 24, 2022, Q, or someone who possesses their details, posted on 8kun after an 18-month hiatus. The post claimed that Cassidy Hutchinson, who testified at the 6th public hearing on the January 6 attack, was involved in a plot to disparage Trump. The Cabal and the Storm. QAnon's core belief is that the world is controlled by a secret cabal of Satan-worshipping child molesters whom Trump is secretly battling to stop, and that Q, an anonymous entity, reveals details about the battle online. The cabal is thought to cover up its existence by controlling politicians, mainstream media, and Hollywood. QS revelations imply that the destruction of the cabal is imminent, but also that it will only be accomplished with the support of the patriots who make up the QAnon community. This will happen at a time known as the event or the storm, when thousands of people will be arrested and possibly sent to Guantanamo Bay prison or to face military tribunals. The U.S. military will then take over the country, and the result will be salvation and utopia on Earth. QAnon beliefs imply the rejection of government officials other than Trump and his closest associates, as well as of mainstream institutions and media. Public figures whom QAnon followers believe to be part of the cabal include Democratic Party politicians like Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton, businesspeople like George Soros and Bill Gates, religious leaders like Pope Francis and the Dalai Lama, Anthony Fauci, and entertainers like Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, Lady Gaga and Chrissy Teigen. Tom Hanks is a special target for QAnon believers. When Hanks went into quarantine at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, they spread a rumor that he had been arrested on child abuse charges. Other similar allegations followed, and in July 2021, some QAnon adherents took seriously an article from a parody website that said Hanks had been executed by the U.S. military. One key tenet in QAnon's narrative until the 2020 election was the recurring prediction that Trump would be re-elected in a landslide and spend his second term bringing about the storm by undoing the deep state, disbanding the cabal and arresting its leaders. After Trump lost and Q stopped posting, QAnon followers continued to search for previously unseen clues in old posts, or worked on their own by creating new spin-offs of the theory. They subsequently made predictions about Trump remaining president or returning to power, such as Joe Biden's inauguration on January 20, 2021, would be an elaborate trap set for the Democrats, who would be arrested en masse and executed while Trump retained power. Trump would be inaugurated on March 4, 2021, as the 19th president. Trump would be inaugurated again on March 20, 2021. After this did not happen, QAnon adherents predicted it would happen on August 13, 2021. The Arizona audit would prove election fraud, handing the state to Trump, and other states would follow suit in a domino effect, resulting in Trump being reinstated as president. The 2021 California gubernatorial recall election result would be proven fraudulent, which would catalyze a national fraud audit, resulting in Trump returning to power. John F. Kennedy or his son John F. Kennedy Jr. would appear alive in front of a crowd in Dallas on November 2, 2021, and announce Trump's reinstatement as president and the installation of Kennedy Jr. as vice president. Child sex trafficking and satanic sacrifice. QAnon effectively merged with Pete Saget by incorporating its beliefs, namely that children are being abducted in large numbers to supply a child trafficking ring, which the followers equate with the cabal. They also see Trump as the only person fighting this criminal network. Added to this is the belief that politicians and Hollywood elites engage in adrenochrome harvesting, in which adrenaline is extracted from children's blood to produce the psychoactive drug adrenochrome. This comprises claims that children are tortured, or sacrificed in satanic rituals, to harvest the adrenaline that comes from fear. The aforementioned Frazzle Drip video in which Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin allegedly murdered a child was said to depict an adrenochrome harvest. One version of the QAnon theory posits that the child abusers use adrenochrome as an elixir to remain young. In June 2020, a group led by QAnon promoter Timothy Charles Holmseth, which called itself the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force despite having no connection with the Pentagon or any U.S. governmental agency, attracted attention by spreading false claims about tens of thousands of children being held hostage and tortured in New York City. Also by 2020, some followers began using the Twitter hashtag #SaveTheChildren, co-opting a trademarked name for the child welfare organization Save the Children. This led to an August 7 statement by Save the Children on the unauthorized use of its name in campaigns. In September, Facebook and Instagram tried to prevent Save the Children from being associated with QAnon by redirecting users who searched for the hashtag to the child welfare group. In October, Facebook announced that it would try to limit the hashtag's reach. In the same period, QAnon followers also created a conspiracy theory that falsely accused furniture company Wayfair of selling expensive furniture to launder money gained from child sex trafficking. Similar groups in both the US and the UK helped organize street protests that they say raise awareness of child sexual abuse and human trafficking. These protests and hashtags have often avoided social media restrictions and tend to attract more women and a more politically diverse and younger crowd than typical QAnon groups, including people opposed to Trump and his leadership. These groups are considered to be linked to the pastel QAnon community. Canon's child abuse allegations against popular entertainers are notably based on the unproven claims of actor Isaac Kappy, who in 2018 accused multiple Hollywood stars of pedophilia. Travis View wrote in a Washington Post column that QAnon and Pete Saget conspiracy theorists harm the credibility of the fight against child sexual abuse, as their baseless claims are a distraction from actual crimes. Followers of these theories have also credited themselves for arrests of criminals in which they had no part. QAnon promoter Jordan Sather credited Jeffrey Epstein's arrest to 4CHAN and 8CHAN, while none of the investigative reporting nor the indictment referenced these forums. Some of the conspiracy theories about Epstein's death have also brought people to QAnon. In May 2022, the New York Times reported that QAnon supporters were intercepting child migrants at the Mexico-United States border and collecting information about their families on the premise that they were falling prey to sex trafficking schemes. Other QAnon beliefs. QAnon Anonymous, a podcast dedicated to analyzing and debunking the QAnon movement, calls it a big tent conspiracy theory due to its ability to constantly evolve and add new claims. QAnon has incorporated elements from many other pre-existing beliefs. Besides its immediate predecessor Pete Saget, the theory has added features from much older conspiracy theories, such as those about the Kennedy assassination, U.F.O.S. and 9/11. In 2018, Liz Crokin said that John F. Kennedy Jr. faked his death and that he is Q. Other followers adopted variations of the Kennedy conspiracy theory, asserting that a Pittsburgh Trump supporter named Vincent Fusca is Kennedy Jr. in disguise and would be Trump's 2020 running mate. In November 2021, hundreds gathered in Dealey Plaza in Dallas, the site of President Kennedy's assassination, believing they would witness the return of Kennedy Jr., or both Kennedys. Attendees expected the event would herald Trump's reinstatement as president, that Trump would step down to allow Kennedy Jr. to become president, and that Kennedy Jr. would then name Michael Flynn as his vice president. According to QAnon researcher Will Sommer, about 20% of QAnon followers believe the JFK Jr. theory, while the majority finds it too farcical on its face. Due to overlap between the two movements, some QAnon followers have joined the Sovereign Citizens, a loose grouping of vexatious litigants and tax protesters whose set of pseudo-legal beliefs implies that most laws and taxes are illegitimate and can be safely ignored if one uses the correct procedures. In 2022, the Anti-Defamation League reported that sovereign citizen ideology was attracting a growing number of QAnon adherents, as their belief in the Biden administration's illegitimacy meshed well with sovereign citizens' broader anti-government views. Some QAnon adherents have expressed belief in the reptilian conspiracy theory, asserting that the satanic cabal alleged to be in power consists of shape-shifting reptilian humanoids. In 2018, Q said that vaccines were part of the Big Pharma conspiracy theory. But as the anxiety and isolation linked to the COVID-19 pandemic fostered a rise of conspiracy theories and anti-vaccine discourse, many in the movement used the pandemic to promote QAnon. Very little of this was directed by Q posts, and Q did not mention the pandemic until March 23, 2020, not using the name COVID-19 until April 8. But influencers in the QAnon community were openly anti-mask and anti-vaccine, and helped spread denialism as well as other misinformation about the pandemic. Notably, QAnon conspiracy theorists touted drinking and industrial bleach as a miracle cure for COVID-19. Q suggested that hydroxychloroquine, endorsed by Trump at the time, was a cure for the disease, and accused the Democrats of forcing infected patients into nursing homes, deliberately causing most COVID-related deaths in the United States. Some QAnon followers have said that the pandemic isn't real, others have claimed that it was created by the deep state. QAnon adherents also helped promote the conspiratorial video Plandemic. In March 2022, CNN, France 24, and Foreign Policy reported that QAnon promoters were echoing Russian disinformation that created conspiracy theories about US-funded laboratories in Ukraine. Russian state media falsely claimed that secret US biolabs were creating weapons, a claim refuted by the US, Ukraine, and the United Nations. In reality, the laboratories were first established to secure and dismantle the remnants of the Soviet biological weapons program, and since then have been used to monitor and prevent new epidemics. The laboratories are publicly listed, not secret, and are owned and operated by host countries such as Ukraine, not by the US. In the conspiracy theory interpretation, QAnon followers have claimed to justify the invasion of Ukraine as an effort by Putin and Trump to destroy military laboratories in Ukraine. Until the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, QAnon-adjacent groups were hostile to China. In March 2022, analyst Elise Thomas wrote in a report for the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, "The dynamics of the invasion are shifting their views." In an astoundingly short space of time, Xi Jinping appears to have been recast from a villain to a hero in the QAnon conspiracy pantheon. Analysis. Identity of Q. The Q persona was that of a well-connected individual with access to highly sensitive government information, who put themselves at risk by dispensing their knowledge to 4chan, then 8chan/8kun users. Q used a calm, authoritative tone, rarely interacted with other posters, and never argued with those who disagreed with their claims. In 2021, Bellingcat analyzed several little-known posts published by Q during the days that followed the first drops, while containing text identical to later messages unambiguously authored by Q. These also showed Q being out of character and behaving in a manner similar to 4chan's other anonymous posters. Bellingcat's theory is that the author of these messages had not yet perfected the Q persona and was still settling into the voice of their online alter ego, which implies that Q was originally one 4chan poster among many instead of a powerful government insider. Multiple individuals. Paul Ferber and the Watkins family. Other hypotheses. Slogans and vocabulary. The spread of QAnon has been accompanied by a series of slogans, catchphrases, buzzwords, and hashtags that helped boost its popularity and online presence. Terms like the cabal or the storm, and Q's recurring phrases like trust the plan or enjoy the show are among the most popular. Q's drops are also known as crumbs or breadcrumbs. In turn, followers of the conspiracy who analyze these posts have called themselves bakers who assemble the crumbs to make dough, or bread, as they weave the clues into a better understanding of the narrative. One early rallying cry among QAnon followers was "Follow the White Rabbit." A popular QAnon slogan is "Where we go one, we go all," first used by Q in April 2018. The phrase "do your own research" encourages people to look for clues that will confirm QAnon narratives. Q sent me has been a declaration of allegiance to Q. Other common phrases in QAnon parlance include white hat, black hat, great awakening, red pill, or sheeple. 17anon has sometimes been used as an alternative spelling of QAnon and a way of circumventing social media algorithms. Derivative elements. As it incorporates elements from many other conspiracy theories, QAnon naturally displays similarities with previous narratives, imagery, and moral panics, whether political or religious in nature. In Salon, Matthew Roscher wrote that QAnon may best be understood as an example of what historian Richard Hofstadter called the paranoid style in American politics, the title of his 1964 essay on religious millenarianism and apocalypticism. Canon's vocabulary echoes Christian tropes, such as the storm and the Great Awakening, leading it to be sometimes construed as an emerging religious movement. QAnon followers, while seeing Trump as a flawed Christian, also view him as a messiah sent by God. According to one QAnon video, the battle between Trump and the cabal is of biblical proportions, a fight for earth, of good versus evil. Some QAnon supporters say the coming reckoning will be a reverse rapture, a revelation that means not only the end of the world but a new beginning, according to American political author Alexander Reed Ross. Like Pete Saget, QAnon has some resemblance to the satanic panic of the 1980s, when hundreds of daycare workers were falsely accused of abusing children. Anti-Semitism. Appeal. Experts have classified Canon's appeal as comparable to those of religious cults. According to an expert in online conspiracy, René DiResta, Canon's pattern of enticement is similar to that of cults in the pre-internet era where, as the targeted person was led deeper and deeper into the group's secrets, they become increasingly isolated from friends and family outside the cult. Online support groups developed for those whose loved ones were drawn into QAnon, notably the subreddit r/Canon Casualties, which grew from 3,500 participants in June 2020 to 28,000 by October. In the Internet age, QAnon virtual communities have little real-world connection with each other, but online they can number in the tens of thousands. Rachel Bernstein, an expert on cults who specializes in recovery therapy, said, "What a movement such as QAnon has going for it, and why it will catch on like wildfire, is that it makes people feel connected to something important that other people don't yet know about. All cults will provide this feeling of being special. There is no self-correction process within the group, since the self-reinforcing true followers are immune to correction, fact-checking, or counter-speech, which is drowned out by the cult's groupthink. QAnon's cultish quality has led to its characterization as a possible emerging religious movement. It has also been called a syncretic movement." Travis View, a researcher who studies QAnon, says that it is as addictive as a video game, and offers the player the possibility of being involved in something of world historical importance. According to View, you can sit at your computer and search for information and then post about what you find, and Q basically promises that through this process, you are going to radically change the country, institute this incredible, almost bloodless revolution, and then be part of this historical movement that will be written about for generations. View compares this to mundane political involvement in which one's efforts might help to get a state legislator elected. QAnon, says View, competes not in the marketplace of ideas, but in the marketplace of realities. The belief in the plan that Q alleged was in place to defeat the deep state and the cabal boosted the confidence of QAnon followers, who were told that things were happening behind the scenes and that victory would inevitably follow if they trusted Trump and the secret plan. QAnon believers try to solve riddles presented in QS posts by connecting them to Trump speeches and tweets and other sources. The New Yorker has likened QAnon to a form of interactive role-playing. Some followers used a Q clock consisting of a wheel of concentric dials to decode clues based on the timing of QS posts and Trump's tweets. Conspiracy theories have tended to make headway in times of societal uncertainty, and help people to feel more in control in the face of disturbing information. American sociologist Mark Juergensmeyer says he finds QAnon consistent with many other extremist religio-political movements, including those that have arisen in response to the recent global crises of mass migration, economic globalization, and now a global pandemic. Survey data showed in late 2020 that a quarter of those who knew about QAnon thought there was some truth to it. In a conspiracy theory environment, primary institutions of society that once served as trusted impartial authorities are easily rejected if they contradict the conspiracy theory, making it very difficult to counter the thinking of QAnon followers. Disillusionment. Polling and demographics. In less than a year of existence, QAnon became significantly recognized by the general population. According to an August 2018 Qualtrics poll for The Washington Post, 58% of Floridians were familiar enough with QAnon to have an opinion about it. Of those who had an opinion, most were unfavorable. The average score on the feeling thermometer was just above 20, a very negative rating, and about half of what other political figures enjoy. Positive feelings toward QAnon were found to be strongly correlated with susceptibility to conspiracy thinking. According to a March 2020 Pew survey, 76% of Americans said they had never heard of QAnon, 20% had heard a little about it, and 3% said they had heard a lot. In September 2020, a Pew survey of the 47% of respondents who said they had heard of QAnon found that 41% of Republicans and those who lean Republican believed QAnon is good for the country, while 7% of Democrats and those who lean Democratic believed that. An October 2020 Yahoo YouGov poll found that even if they had not heard of QAnon, a majority of Republicans and Trump supporters believed top Democrats were engaged in sex trafficking rings, and more than half of Trump supporters believed he was working to dismantle the rings. In February 2021, an American Enterprise Institute poll found that 29% of Republicans believe the central claim of QAnon, that Donald Trump has been secretly fighting a group of child sex traffickers that include prominent Democrats and Hollywood elites. A March 2021 Public Religion Research Institute and Interfaith Youth Corps survey found similar results. Republicans were twice as likely as Democrats to agree that the elites would soon be swept from power by a coming storm. Republicans were 3 times as likely as Democrats to agree that Satan-worshipping pedophiles control the government and media, and Republicans were 4 times as likely as Democrats to agree that true American patriots may have to resort to violence to resolve the situation. Multiple surveys have found that conspiracy theories such as QAnon are most popular among white Americans, especially evangelicals. A May 2021 PRRI survey confirmed that white evangelicals are among QAnon's strongest supporters, but also found that Hispanic Protestants are drawn to the movement in even larger proportions. According to the PRRI's figures, the core QAnon belief that global elites form a group of Satan-worshipping pedophiles and child sex traffickers is held in the U.S. by 26% of Hispanic Protestants, 25% of white evangelical Protestants, 24% of other Protestants of color, 18% of Mormons, 16% of Hispanic Catholics, 14% of African American Protestants, 14% of other Christians, 13% of non-Christian religious people, 11% of white Catholics, 11% of religiously unaffiliated people, 10% of white mainline Protestants, and 8% of Jews. An analysis of 4 2021 PRRI surveys showed that belief in QAnon had increased in the U.S. after Trump left office. In March 2021, 14% of Americans considered themselves QAnon believers, increasing to 17% in October of that year. In the average of the 4 surveys, about 22% of Americans believed that there was a storm coming soon that will sweep away the elites in power, and 16% shared the core QAnon belief that the government, the media, and the financial elite are controlled by satanic pedophiles. Incidents. Since QAnon's emergence, followers of the conspiracy theory have been part of controversial, sometimes violent events. In 2020, QAnon followers were actively involved in the presidential election, during which they supported Trump's campaign. QAnon personalities moved to dedicated message boards, where they organized to wage information warfare in an attempt to influence the election. 1 in 50 tweets about voting in the 2020 United States presidential election came from QAnon accounts. 2 in 25 accounts using the hashtag #VoterFraud, which spread unsubstantiated allegations of voting fraud, were QAnon accounts. Attempts to overturn the 2020 U.S. election. As allegations of voting fraud spread further after Trump lost the election, QAnon followers supported the efforts of Trump's legal team to overturn the election through multiple lawsuits and submitted conspiracy theories of their own. They theorized that voting machines made by Dominion voting systems had deleted millions of votes for Trump. This was repeated on a segment on the far-right cable news outlet One American News Network, and Trump tweeted the segment to his followers. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency announced that the election was the most secure in American history, with no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. One specific QAnon-affiliated conspiracy theory, known as Italygate and pushed in the last weeks of Trump's presidency, alleged that the American election had been rigged using technology from the U.S. Embassy in Rome with the help of an Italian hacker, an Italian general and the Vatican. Based on a misinterpretation of the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871 by the Sovereign Citizen Movement, according to which it transformed the federal government into a corporation and rendered illegitimate every president elected thereafter, some QAnon followers claimed that the 18th president was the last legitimate president. They believed that Trump would be sworn in as the 19th president on March 4, 2021, the original inauguration date until the 20th Amendment changed it to January 20 in 1933, and that he would restore the federal government. Based on intelligence that an identified but undisclosed militia group might attempt an attack on the Capitol on that date, the U.S. Capitol Police issued an alert on March 3. House leadership subsequently rescheduled a March 4 vote to the previous night to allow lawmakers to leave town. The Anti-Defamation League, British security firm G4S, and nonpartisan governance watchdog Advance Democracy, Inc., studied QAnon posts and made various warnings of the potential for violence on January 6, 2021. Violence did occur that day, as the attempts to overturn the election culminated with the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Multiple QAnon-affiliated protesters participated in the disturbance. Rioters were either seen wearing clothing with Q-related emblems or identified as QAnon followers from video footage. One participant whose attire and behavior attracted worldwide media attention was Jake Ongeli, a QAnon supporter nicknamed the QAnon Shaman. Ashley Babbitt, a rioter who was shot dead by police as she was trying to break into the speaker's lobby, was a committed follower of QAnon. The day before the attack, she had tweeted, "The storm is here and it is descending upon DC in less than 24 hours." The attack led to a crackdown on QAnon-related content, pages, and accounts on social media platforms, including Facebook and Twitter. On April 19, 2021, the Sufan Center reported that Russia and China had amplified and weaponized QAnon stories around the time of the Capitol attack to sow societal discord and even compromise legitimate political processes. Reactions: media, advocacy groups, and public figures. Journalists have debunked QAnon's basic tenets. In 2018, The Washington Post called its proponents a deranged conspiracy cult and some of the Internet's most outré Trump fans. Soon after QAnon emerged, some media outlets and public figures made efforts to portray it as credible. On December 28, 2017, the Russian television network RT aired a segment discussing QAnon revelations, calling the anonymous poster a secret intelligence operative inside the Trump administration known by QAnon. On March 13, 2018, Cheryl Sullinger, the vice president of the anti-abortion group Operation Rescue, called QAnon a small group of insiders close to President Donald J. Trump and called their posts the highest level of intelligence to ever be dropped publicly in our known history. On March 15, Kyiv-based Rabochaya Gazeta, the official newspaper of the Communist Party of Ukraine, published an article calling QAnon a military intelligence group. On March 31, actor Roseanne Barr appeared to promote QAnon, which was subsequently covered by CNN, The Washington Post, and The New York Times. Radio talk show host Lionel became an outspoken QAnon supporter. In April and October 2021, actor Jim Caviezel appeared at conservative conferences where he endorsed aspects of the QAnon conspiracy theory. On June 28, 2018, a Time magazine article listed Q among the 25 most influential people on the Internet in 2018. Counting more than 130,000 related discussion videos on YouTube, Time cited the wide range of the conspiracy theory and its more prominent followers and news coverage. On July 4, the Hillsborough County Republican Party shared on its official Facebook and Twitter accounts a YouTube video on QAnon, calling them a mysterious anonymous inside leaker of deep state activities and counter-activities by President Trump. The posts were soon deleted. On August 1, 2018, following the previous day's large presence of QAnon supporters at Trump's Tampa, Florida rally for the midterm elections, MSNBC News anchors Holly Jackson, Brian Williams, and Chris Hayes dedicated a portion of their respective programs to the conspiracy theory. PBS NewsHour also ran a segment on QAnon the next day. On August 2, Washington Post editorial writer Molly Roberts wrote, "The storm QAnon truthers predict will never strike because the conspiracy that obsesses them doesn't exist. But while they wait for it, they'll try to whip up the wines, and the rest of us will struggle to find shelter. Official response. FBI Domestic Terrorism Assessment. Congressional Resolution. Republican politicians and organizations. In 2019, 2 Republican congressional candidates expressed support for QAnon theories. In early 2020, Jim Watkins created the Disarm the Deep State Super PAC, whose stated aim was to mobilize a community of patriots in order to remove power from deep state members. In November 2020, it was reported that the PAC had raised just $4,736, including a $500 loan from Watkins's lawyer. In 2020, there were 97 QAnon followers in the primaries, of whom 22 Republicans and 2 independents ran in the elections of that year. Businesswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene won an August 2020 runoff to become the GOP nominee in the 14th Congressional District in Georgia. In 2020, she said many of Q's claims have really proven to be true. Months into the Trump presidency, she stated in a video, "There's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take this global cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles out, and I think we have the president to do it." Jo Ray Perkins, the 2020 Republican Senate candidate in Oregon, tweeted a video on the night of her May primary victory showing her holding a WWG1WGA sticker and stating that she with Q and the team. "Thank you Anons, and thank you Patriots." She expressed regret at having later deleted the video on the advice of a political consultant. The next month she took the digital soldier's oath that Q had requested followers to do 3 days earlier. On June 30, 2020, incumbent Republican U.S. Representative Scott Tipton lost a primary for Colorado's 3rd Congressional District to Lauren Boebert in an upset. Boebert expressed tentative support for QAnon in an interview, but after winning the primary, attempted to distance herself from those statements, saying "I'm not a follower." Boebert was elected to Congress that November. Angela Stanton King, a Trump-backed candidate running for the Georgia House seat of the late Congressman John Lewis, posted on Twitter that Black Lives Matter is a major cover-up for pedophilia and human trafficking and the storm is here. Stanton King told a reporter that her posts did not relate to QAnon, asserting, "It was raining that day." Weather records did not show precipitation in her area on the day of the post. In August 2020, the New York Times said that the Texas Republican Party's new slogan was taken from Q. Texas Republican Party officials denied this, saying it was inspired by a biblical passage and has no connection to QAnon. In May 2021, Representative Louis Gohmert and Texas Republican Party Chairman Allen West attended the For God and Country, Patriot Roundup conference organized by QAnon followers in Dallas. Also in August 2020, Representative Liz Cheney became the highest-ranking House Republican to take a stand against QAnon, which she called a dangerous lunacy that should have no place in American politics. Other Republican Party members who have spoken out against QAnon include Senator Ben Sasse, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush and Senator and former presidential candidate Mitt Romney. In March 2021, Representative Peter Meyer said that the Republican Party should unequivocally condemn QAnon and other conspiracy theories, and commented, "The fact that a significant plurality, if not potentially a majority, of our voters have been deceived into this creation of an alternate reality could very well be an existential threat to the party." Representative Adam Kinzinger launched a PAC called Country First, aimed at countering conspiracy theories and Donald Trump. Trump and connected individuals. Donald Trump, Mike Pence, Michael Flynn, Lynn Wood, Sidney Powell. Other online platforms. Q-Drops app. Anti-QAnon subreddits. Removal of related content. Migration to alt-tech. See also. Apophenia, tendency to mistakenly perceive connections and meaning between unrelated things. Cult of personality. List of conspiracy theories. Nostradamus, 16th century French reputed seer who published cryptic poetic quatrains and lay prophecies, allowing for subjective interpretations. Ong's Hat Internet Conspiracy Alternate Reality Game. Secret decoder ring promotional items by radio and television programs that tap into a common fascination with secret codes. John Titor, anonymous Internet personage, active 2000-2001, who made several failed predictions. Trumpism. Fascism.